different kind of problem here. So this one's a little bit more complicated. So if you're really struggling with thermochem, go back to one of the other ones. If you're really struggling with Q equals MC delta T, go back to one of those directly ones. This one's a little bit more like smush them together kind of thing. So the question is, how much propane to heat a 55-gallon hot water heater from 20 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius? So I read that and I think, well, it sounds like a Q equals MC delta T problem, but overall they're asking for how much propane it's going to take. So I'm going to have a Q equals MC delta T problem and then a thermochem problem, right? Because when I solve for my Q, that's energy, and then I can use that to get to the propane on there, right? We're assuming 100% efficiency here, which isn't right. Some of the heat's not going to go into it, right? Like we saw in our burning food lab. But I see that overall this starts at least as an MCAT problem. So let's go ahead and do that. Do the easy ones first. We'll get hung up sometimes on the things we don't know. Do the easy things first, and that simplifies stuff. So I'm going from 20 to 50. So my degrees or my change in temperature, pretty easy. Put that in there. Then we say, okay, well, what else is pretty easy? Well, the C is pretty easy, right? 4.18 joules per gram degree Celsius. So do the easy things first. Then we say, okay, well, the only other things, I see mass and I see energy. It's asking for how much propane, but that wouldn't be the mass I'd put here, right? The water is what we're heating up, so I'd want the mass of the water. Well, it tells me that it's a 55-gallon. Oh, maybe I could just go 55G and pretend like gallons and grams. No, I can't do that, right? So 55 gallons. Oh, but hey, look at this. A gallon of water has a certain mass, right? So 55 gallons, and then a good old unit conversion. I promise you at the beginning of the year, we'd use those a ton. For every 1 gallon of water, it's 3,780 grams, right? So we cancel that out and say 55 times 3,780 will give me a whole bunch of grams of water. But it's a 55-gallon hot water heater, right? That's a lot. So, right, so we just did 55 times 3,780 divided by 1. So now I can solve for my Q, and that's just nice and easy. Plug those in. The Q is already by itself, so I just do the multiplication steps. 4.18 joules per gram degree Celsius, and then 30 degrees Celsius. Right, so canceling wise, and we should check that things cancel. Can we see all those numbers? Yeah, we can see all those numbers. My degrees Celsius cancel out, my grams cancel out, we're going to be left with joules. I notice right now, that's in kilojoules, and that's in joules. So when I solve this, I want to keep in mind that I'm going to want to adjust that, right? So this is a huge number anyway. So 207,900 times 4.18 times 30. And that gives me a Q of 2607060. That's way too many digits, but I'm in the middle of a problem, so I'm not going to round right now. So that's in joules. To go to kilojoules then, so that I can work the propane problem, right? Because I kind of knew at the beginning I was going to have to do an MCAT problem, take that Q, and then plug it in here to see how much propane. But that's in kilojoules. So let's move this to kilojoules. So we go 1, 2, 3. So my Q is 26070 kilojoules. That amount of energy can then tell me how much propane I need with just a little stoichiometry problem. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this stuff. Start with my kilojoules. And then we're working towards propane. So we would just say 2,220 kilojoules for every 1 mole of propane. And then for every 1 mole of propane, it's some number of grams of propane. Right? And to get those molar masses, right, 12.01 times 3 plus 1.01. So that's going to give me 44.11 grams of propane, right? That's just that molar mass stuff that we haven't done it a lot lately, but we've done it quite a bit. So then we just multiply across the top, divide by the bottom. So times 44.11 divided by 2220. And that'll give me 518 grams of propane. Right, so quite a bit. That's a little over a pound, right? So if I want to heat up, every time I want to heat up the hot water heater, right, it would take about a pound, a little over a pound of propane.